In today's brief video, I want to share with you guys the only two reasons why a person will relapse on smoking weed, consuming nicotine, cigarettes, vapes, watching adult media content, or drinking alcohol, because relapse only happens for two reasons. After sharing those reasons with you guys, I want to offer you solutions to each of those reasons. And I'm making today's video because I made a community post the other day and I sent out an email and I said, just smoke. And then in parentheses, I said, for real. And for those who actually read the post and read my emails, you would have picked up on, or at least I hope you would have picked up on, that I was using reverse psychology. I was saying, hey, if smoking is helping you financially, it's making you physically more healthy, it's helping your mental health. If gambling is making you more money, I said, keep doing it. If watching adult media content is building your relationships, keep doing it. But a lot of people emailed me and commented and said, I can't believe you, I relapsed because of this email, I relapsed because of this post. And if that's your mindset and you're trying to quit substances, you are going to be screwed for the foreseeable future. And we're going to fix that today, okay? Now, if you're new to the channel, my name's Dr. Frank. I'm the founder of AddictionMindset recovery coaching programs, which are dedicated to helping people quit nicotine, THC, energy drinks, and adult media content, binge drinking as well, substances I once struggled with. To learn more about our supplements, our products, and our one-on-one coaching, check out the pinned comment or the video description at the end of today's video. All right, so reason number one why people relapse is because they have a dependency on the substance, okay? So they become physically dependent on alcohol. They become physically dependent upon cannabis or marijuana. And this is the person who goes to quit alcohol, they get the delirium tremors, they get seizures, they cannot physically function without the drug in their body. Someone's quitting weed, they haven't slept in months, they're getting super high blood pressure, gastrointestinal irregularities, all types of health problems from quitting because their endocannabinoid system has become physically dependent upon this external source of THC from the cannabis plant, right? So when we have a physical dependence, typically we see relapse during the withdrawal stages. The withdrawals become so intense that the person cannot tolerate the withdrawals and then they wind up relapsing, okay? And it's not that they're weak, it's not that they don't have willpower, it's not that the person doesn't actually want to stop using the drug. They just physically are incapable of detoxing from it because it's putting their health at significant risk, more risk than continuing to use the drug in some circumstances. Now, if this is why you keep relapsing, okay, and let's not confuse dependency with just your standard set of withdrawals, okay? But if this is why you're relapsing, this is when going to a medical detox is indicated and necessary. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of rehab facilities, but if you're going to rehab for detox and then moving on with your recovery, I think that's a beautiful thing. Or I should say rather, you're recovered and you move on. That's a beautiful thing, okay? Now, the second reason people relapse is a lot more insidious, and this reason has to do with the example that I provided in the beginning of today's video about my email, my community post. People think they relapse because of triggers, right? They were triggered by my email. They were triggered by seeing their friend vape. They were triggered by the person who offered them a drink of alcohol or who was smoking weed. Or even worse, the person is so scared of relapsing, they avoid going to parties. We have Memorial Day coming up. They avoid going to events where there's alcohol or weed or social circumstances because they're so terrified they're going to relapse. And if I was that person and I thought that way, I would be constantly terrified too if that was my mindset, because you're like a feather blowing in the wind and life is happening to you, not because of you, all right? The only other reason you relapse, and tell yourself this next time if a relapse happens, is because you made a conscious decision and you chose to consume the substance. I didn't relapse because of the stressful day at work. I didn't relapse because of the divorce. I didn't relapse because of my financial situation. I didn't relapse because of an email that someone sent me. I didn't relapse because I saw a commercial for alcohol or a billboard or because the person I was having dinner with ordered a drink. That's not why I relapsed. Those are excuses, and those are justifications for a behavior that you arguably want to stop doing. But I understand addiction is manipulative, it takes advantage of us, and it will hop on any little thing it can, especially in early sobriety, okay? And we're used to making excuses, right? If you've struggled with addiction for a long time, like me, you probably have a laundry list of reasons and excuses why you constantly justify relapse. So if relapse happens again, I want you to say, no, it had nothing to do with those outside factors. I relapsed because I made a conscious decision to choose to use this substance because I perceived X, Y, and Z benefits from using this substance. I was at that party on Memorial Day. I decided to drink and smoke some weed because I felt there would be a socialization benefit, a relaxation benefit to consuming that drug. Now, after you decide to consume, or after you lapse or relapse, you should then take an assessment and say, well, did it provide a social benefit, or did it just put me into a downward spiral of negatives again? That's for you to figure out. But if we make relapse a decision of choice, excluding scenario number one, where there's dependency and life-threatening withdrawals, okay, excluding that, if we make relapse from a place of choice, a conscious decision that we're making, then when we decide to finally stop, and when we decide to stop buying into all the laundry list of excuses we have, it's coming from a place of choice. It's coming from a place of decision making, from a place of power, not from a place of loss of a substance, not from a place of deprivation. Because if you're going throughout addiction and you're largely viewing addiction as being dramatically influenced by outside circumstances, which can play a role. Look, family, genetics, blah, 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 blah. All those things can play a role. But if you're letting all those things dictate your sobriety and how you're going to handle being sober and whether or not you're going to enjoy your sobriety, long term you are screwed. Because then you're just walking through life for a few days, a few weeks, a few months, a few years, just fearful, waiting for that next triggering event to cause you to relapse, as compared to saying, you know what? I made a conscious decision to consume this substance again. I'm well aware of my ability to make choices for myself because I am a functioning adult who proves day to day, day in and day out that I'm capable of making conscious decisions. You make hundreds of decisions every day that impact your life in one way, shape, or form. Even in active substance use, you do that, so you're capable of it. This puts you back in control. Because if it's constantly up to the excuses in all of life, then the addiction is in control. You are no longer a conscious being. You are now being controlled by a lifeless plant that's cannabis, by a purposeless cigarette, by an energy-draining alcoholic beverage, okay? You will constantly spend your life in control of addiction unless we start to take ultimate accountability. And even if you're struggling with the withdrawals, even if you have the physical dependency, you can take accountability in seeking out a medical detox center. If you don't have the funds for a nice one, you can seek out state-run and government-run detox centers for help. They're not the best, but they work for people, right? They work for some people. But even in that scenario, the ball is still in your court. You are not some lifeless being just being tossed around to this disease, I've made videos about that too, of addiction, okay? You have choice. In both scenarios, you have choice. And when you have choice, it puts you in a position of power and rational decision making, and that's exactly what you are. You're a human being who has life, who's capable of making rational decisions, and who, I promise, with or without drug use continued, will have a much better life if you start to take supreme accountability for your actions and your decisions. And by doing this, exactly what I share with you guys on my channel, this is how I've remained easily sober for now 9+ years, okay? I don't recommend counting, but you have a general gauge. I quit around 27, I'm 35 now, okay? So it's mindset shifts like this. Now, if you need help with this, a few things. One, we have our Kick It Crave Less chewing gum. You can see that below. It's a chewing gum supplement designed to help with those Withdrawal symptoms, cravings, irritability. It helps improve your tolerance for stress. It's an incredible product. The 90 count is a month's supply. Most people only need 30 days worth, okay? The 3-pack is a 3-month supply, which brings you to that gold standard of 90 days quit, okay? Now, if you need help with the mindset though, in conversations like this, check out our one-on-one addiction recovery coaching session. It's a 2-hour session billed at $4.99, or we have our one-on-one Q&A session where you just ask me questions and I give you answers. I don't actively work with you on that. I just answer your questions for $250. All right, guys, good luck. You got this. It's all in the mindset, all right? Take accountability.